Have you ever wondered why some people seem to understand everything instantly while others struggle no matter how hard they try? The difference isn't IQ. It's how you train your mind every single day. In this video, I'll reveal the secrets to becoming smarter, sharper, and more insightful in ways anyone can master. If you want to become smarter, don't focus on having all the answers. Focus on asking better questions. Every major discovery, innovation, or breakthrough in history started with a single, well-placed question. Einstein once said, "It's not that I'm so smart, it's just that I stay with questions longer." That's the essence of true intelligence, curiosity guided by purpose. When you ask the right questions, your brain enters an active learning state. Instead of passively accepting information, you start analyzing, connecting, and exploring. For example, instead of asking, "What is this?" ask, "Why does this matter?" Or, "How does this connect to what I already know?" These deeper questions train your brain to think critically and make connections that others overlook. They turn information into understanding and understanding into wisdom. The key is not to be satisfied with surface answers. Intelligent people rarely stop at the first explanation they hear. They dig deeper. Why is this true? What's the evidence? What happens if I try it differently? This process forces the brain to evaluate logic, context, and consequence, the building blocks of real intelligence. In practical terms, you can train this habit every day. When you read a book, don't just highlight lines. Pause and ask, "Why did the author say this?" When you hear news, ask, "Who benefits if I believe this?" When someone gives you advice, ask, "Does this apply to my situation?" These simple questions make learning active instead of passive. Another powerful approach is to ask, "What if?" questions. This type of thinking opens up creativity and problem-solving ability. What if I tried this idea differently? Or what if the opposite were true? By exploring possibilities, you train your brain to think beyond the obvious and uncover new insights. Remember, intelligence isn't about memorizing facts. It's about connecting ideas. Questions are the bridges between information and insight. The more you question, the more patterns you'll recognize, and the more flexible your mind becomes. Over time, you'll notice that you don't just learn faster. You understand deeper, decide smarter, and think clearer. Finally, don't be afraid of not knowing. Admitting, "I don't know, but I want to find out," is one of the most intelligent things you can say. Every question you ask is an invitation to grow. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes, and soon, curiosity becomes your greatest teacher. So, to become truly intelligent, don't chase answers. Chase questions. Ask boldly, think deeply, and never stop wondering, because every question you ask shapes the way you see the world, and the smarter your questions become, the smarter you will be. In today's world, information is everywhere, and that's both a gift and a trap. Many people confuse consuming more information with becoming more intelligent. They read dozens of books, watch countless videos, and scroll through endless articles, but they retain almost nothing. Smart people, on the other hand, understand a simple truth. It's not about how much you read, but how deeply you learn from what you read. Strategic reading begins with intention. Before opening a book or article, ask yourself, "Why am I reading this?" Are you reading for entertainment, skill building, or personal growth? Once your goal is clear, your brain automatically filters and focuses on what matters most. You stop reading everything and start learning with purpose. The next step is selection. Smart readers don't try to read everything. They pick the right materials. They know that 20% of books and ideas often provide 80% of the value. Choose works that challenge your current thinking, expand your perspective, or give you tools to act. If a book doesn't serve that purpose, move on without guilt. Your time and attention are your most valuable assets. Treat them wisely. Once you start reading, engage actively. Don't just let the words wash over your eyes. Interact with them. Take notes. Highlight key points. Pause to reflect. Summarize what you've learned in your own words. Even better, try to teach it to someone else. Teaching forces you to understand the idea clearly enough to explain it, which is one of the most powerful ways to retain knowledge. Another hallmark of strategic readers is application. Intelligence grows through use. When you finish a book, ask, how can I apply this to my life right now? The moment you put an idea into action, it transforms from theory into wisdom. For example, if you read a book on time management, immediately experiment with one technique for a week. This hands-on testing helps you internalize lessons far more effectively than passive reading ever could. Also, learn to connect what you read. Every new concept is like a piece of a puzzle. It only makes sense when it links to the bigger picture. Try to relate what you read in psychology to what you know about leadership, or link business principles to lessons in philosophy. The smartest people are not those who memorize facts, but those who can connect dots between fields that others see as separate. Finally, remember that reading should not feel like a race. It's not about finishing 100 books a year. It's about finding even a single book that changes how you think or live. Read slowly. Reflect often. Let ideas sink in. True learning happens when words move from your head to your heart, when they shape your choices, your mindset, and your life. So if you want to become smarter, stop reading for quantity and start reading for quality. Learn less but learn deeper. Each carefully chosen book, each note thoughtfully written, and each idea put into practice builds a sharper, wiser, and more intelligent version of yourself. There's a famous saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. This simple truth captures one of the most effective ways to become smarter. Surround yourself with people who challenge your mind. Intelligence isn't developed in isolation. It grows through connection, conversation, and collaboration. Every interaction with someone more knowledgeable than you is a chance to expand your perspective and refine your thinking. Being around smarter people changes you in subtle but powerful ways. First, it raises your standards. When you see others thinking faster, solving problems creatively, or approaching challenges strategically, you naturally begin to push yourself harder. You start to ask, how can I think like that? Or, what can I learn from this person? Your mind adapts to the higher level of reasoning and discipline that your environment demands. Smart people also model effective thinking patterns. You can observe how they analyze problems, structure their thoughts, and communicate ideas. Notice how they listen before speaking, how they question assumptions, and how they turn complex issues into clear, actionable steps. By observing these habits, you gradually absorb them, much like how you pick up an accent by living in a new country. Another advantage of surrounding yourself with intelligent people is exposure to diverse viewpoints. True intelligence thrives on diversity of experience, background, and belief. When you only interact with people who think like you, your growth plateaus. But when you engage with those who think differently, you're forced to reconsider your assumptions and think from new angles. This friction between ideas sparks creativity and deeper understanding. However, it's not enough just to be near smart people. You must engage with them actively. Ask questions. Seek feedback. Be humble enough to admit what you don't know, but confident enough to share your own perspective. The most valuable relationships are built on mutual curiosity and respect, not competition. Intelligent people appreciate learners, those who bring thoughtful questions, not empty egos. Sometimes, surrounding yourself with smarter people means stepping outside your comfort zone. It may feel intimidating to be the least experienced person in the room, but that's exactly where growth happens. Every conversation is a chance to stretch your mind, and every challenge is an opportunity to learn. Over time, what once felt difficult becomes natural, and you find yourself thinking on a new level entirely. Technology makes this easier than ever. You can join online communities, watch lectures, attend meetups, or read discussions from experts across the world. The key is not just to consume their ideas, but to interact, comment, ask, collaborate. Every meaningful exchange adds a layer to your intelligence. Remember, your environment silently shapes who you become. If you're surrounded by people who complain, you'll think smaller. But if you're surrounded by those who challenge, question, and build, your mind will expand in response. Intelligence is contagious. Catch it from the right people. So if you want to grow smarter, curate your circle intentionally. Seek people who inspire curiosity, push your limits, and make you rethink what you know. Over time, their habits of thinking become yours, and you'll realize that collective intelligence is one of the greatest forces for personal growth. To become truly intelligent, you must learn not just what to think, but how to think. In a world flooded with information, opinions, and persuasive voices, the ability to think critically and independently is a superpower. It separates those who simply absorb ideas from those who truly understand and evaluate them. Critical thinking begins with a simple but powerful question. Is this really true? Smart people never accept information at face value. They know that truth requires examination. When they encounter a new idea, they pause to consider its source, evidence, logic, and implications. They look for patterns, contradictions, and hidden motives. Instead of asking, "Do I agree with this?" they ask, "Does this make sense?" That shift from emotion to reason is the foundation of intelligent thinking. The process of critical thinking involves 4 essential steps: analyze, compare, verify, and conclude. First, analyze the information. Break it into smaller parts to see how it fits together. Second, compare it with what you already know. Does it align or conflict? Third, verify by checking multiple sources or testing it in real life. Finally, draw your own conclusion based on logic, not pressure or popularity. Independent thinkers don't follow the crowd. They follow the truth, even if it's unpopular. They understand that most people prefer comfort over clarity, but intelligence demands courage. It takes strength to question what everyone else accepts, to say "I disagree" when the evidence leads you elsewhere. Yet that's exactly how progress happens. Every great thinker, scientist, and innovator challenge the common belief of their time. Developing critical and independent thinking also means being aware of your biases. Everyone has them: emotional attachments, cultural influences, or past experiences that shape perception. The key is not to eliminate bias completely, which is impossible, but to recognize it. When you catch yourself believing something strongly, ask, "Am I seeing this objectively or just the way I want to see it?" That moment of awareness creates space for truth to emerge. One powerful habit to strengthen independent thinking is to argue against yourself. Take a belief you hold strongly and try to disprove it. Search for evidence that contradicts your view. This exercise forces your mind to stay flexible and humble, 2 traits essential for intelligence. When you can understand and articulate both sides of an argument, you not only become wiser, but also more empathetic and persuasive. Critical thinkers also know how to handle uncertainty. They are comfortable saying, "I don't know yet." Rather than rushing to conclusions, they let ideas breathe. They collect data, observe patterns, and wait until the picture becomes clear. This patience allows them to make smarter, more grounded decisions, while others react impulsively. In daily life, practicing critical thinking means questioning everything: news headlines, social media posts, rumors, even your own assumptions. It doesn't mean doubting for the sake of doubt, but thinking for the sake of truth. Over time, you'll find that your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more resistant to manipulation. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding rationally. Ultimately, intelligence is not about knowing more facts. It's about seeing reality more clearly. When you train your mind to think critically and independently, you become the master of your thoughts, not their prisoner. You gain freedom from misinformation, from fear, from blind conformity. And in that freedom lies the truest form of intelligence. If there's one trait that defines truly intelligent people, it's not how much they know. It's how much they want to know. Curiosity is the beating heart of intelligence. It's what drives discovery, fuels creativity, and keeps your mind young no matter your age. The smartest people in the world never stop asking questions, never stop exploring, and never stop learning. They see the world not as something to be conquered, but as something endlessly fascinating. Think about how children learn. They touch, taste, question, and explore everything around them without fear of looking foolish. That same childlike curiosity is what adults often lose as they grow older. We start to think we know enough, or we become afraid of being wrong. But when curiosity dies, learning dies with it. To stay intelligent, you must protect your sense of wonder, the impulse to ask, what else is there to learn? Being curious means constantly seeking to understand how things work. Not because you have to, but because you want to. When you encounter something new, resist the urge to dismiss it. Instead, dive deeper. Read about it, experiment with it, and discuss it with others. Every time you explore something unfamiliar, your brain creates new neural connections, literally rewiring itself to become more flexible and capable. Curiosity doesn't just make you smarter, it changes the physical structure of your brain. Lifelong learners know that learning never ends. They don't see education as something that happens only in school or university. They turn everyday life into a classroom, a conversation, a mistake, a challenge, a failure. Each becomes a lesson if you approach it with curiosity instead of judgment. When something goes wrong, instead of thinking, "Why me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" That small shift in mindset transforms every experience into growth. Another secret of lifelong learners is diversity of interest. They read about science, art, history, business, and philosophy. They cross disciplines, connecting ideas that seem unrelated. This habit of linking concepts from different fields often leads to breakthrough thinking, because innovation lives at the intersection of knowledge. Steve Jobs once said that creativity is just connecting things. The more you learn across areas, the more connections your brain can make. To maintain curiosity, you also need humility, the willingness to admit you don't know everything. Ironically, the more intelligent you become, the more aware you are of how much there is left to learn. That humility keeps your mind open and your ego in check. You start to see that learning is not about proving how smart you are, but about discovering how much smarter you can become. In practice, staying curious doesn't require grand gestures. It could mean setting aside 20 minutes each day to read something new, asking why 5 times when you encounter a problem, or surrounding yourself with people who inspire curiosity. It's about building the habit of exploration, one small step at a time. Curiosity is contagious. When you live with genuine excitement to learn, you inspire others to do the same. You become the kind of person who lights up conversations, who asks the questions no one else dares to, who never stops growing. That's what true intelligence looks like. Not static knowledge, but continuous evolution. So to become smarter, never let your curiosity fade. Stay hungry for knowledge, stay open to new ideas, and stay humble enough to keep learning. Because the moment you stop being curious is the moment you stop growing. And growth is the true measure of intelligence. Becoming smarter isn't a gift, it's a daily choice. Every time you learn something new, challenge yourself, or dare to question what you know, you're expanding the boundaries of your mind. Remember, the smartest people aren't those who know the most. They're the ones who never stop learning.